Tell people, the basics, your name, and a little bit about your history, and see if I can hold this thing steady.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Richard Two Elk, and I'm a Native American Lakota from Pine Ridge, South Dakota. I've been active in the Indian community for ever since I was a teenager, and part of what I was active in the community was the American Indian movement, which I'm no longer active in. I stopped being that in 1975 or 76. And it's important, though, I think, to have a full grasp of that event, that period, because it continues to spill over into our contemporary life and influence us in ways that are, I believe, negative and not helpful to our overall development as Native people. So in exploring that, I think that the important thing to do is to get as much information as possible about the period and do it in retrospect, a careful analysis of the things that happened. And just like anything else in the world today, you don't want to get a one-sided or biased point of view. And unfortunately, for a long time, that's all we had available, and I believe that that's had a lot of influence on why we have the state of mind and the beliefs that we do today about that period and about the American Indian movement in the 1970s, because for years and years there were several books that came out that were slanted and biased, and they only told one side of the story. And so even if you read all the books, you'd only get one angle of it. And finally in what year?
I guess it was, you say '08, I guess.
Yeah. Finally in 2008, a book was published, and the book is titled American Indian Mafia, and I show it to you here. And it was published by John and Joe Trimbach. Joe Trimbach was a FBI special agent in charge during the Wounded Knee occupation, and he was active in this area of South Dakota for some time during the 70s. And I feel it's an important book to read and have a good knowledge of, because for the first time we as Native people get a picture of what it looked like from the other side. For me, that was the most revealing element of the book, is I got to see through Joe Trimbach's eyes, and I think that was a particular privilege, given the fact that everything I had seen before that was having to do with my own experience and perspective. Given that, given the fact that I did read American Indian Mafia, and I saw so many references, excerpts that were drawn from a lot of the other books that had been published over the years regarding the American Indian movement, Leonard Peltier, and the period of the 70s in South Dakota, I was able to then get a better understanding of a lot of those different books. And I had never read those books. I had never read In the Spirit of Crazy Horse. I had never read any of Leonard Peltier's books, or any of the books that made the American Indian movement notorious and famous or infamous. And so I was lacking in a particular degree, and but I probably will go read those books now after having read American Indian Mafia, because of the fact that I was able to be aware of elements of those books that were significant, that I may have missed or not paid attention to in the process of reading those books firsthand without reading American Indian Mafia first. So I encourage you to get American Indian Mafia, read it cover to cover, make special notations to the excerpts of the books that it has made, and then go back and take a look at some of those other books, and you will see the truth that's presented in this book, American Indian Mafia. You will see how it points out contradictions, in fact, presented by the other books. And so given that, I encourage you to educate yourself about the period of the 1970s, the American Indian movement, Leonard Peltier, and the Pine Ridge Reservation, and understand that in a nutshell, the American Indian movement was a farce, and from the get-go, and there was nothing that has really positive come out of it if you are willing to critically and carefully analyze the historical fact.
Well, let me just ask you one question, the larger frame of reference. for Indian country, what do you think is needed in order to break the cycle of abuse, unemployment, despair, teenage suicides, all the malignancies that are plaguing the reservation? What is it going to take to break that cycle of abuse? In your opinion, what sort of transformation needs to take place, and is it even possible?
I believe, yes, I believe it is possible, because I believe that we need to, I guess, return to a path, a progressive path that we were on prior to the American Indian movement. There were a lot of people that were developing in the Indian communities and adapting to the contemporary society and learning how to operate within that society and how to do that efficiently and effectively. When the American Indian movement came along, it basically introduced a concept of that you no longer have to do that, and if that becomes a problem for you not doing that, then all you have to do is say, well, I'm being discriminated against, or I'm being picked on. So
what sort of traditions and societal mores need to be either reinforced or put back in place that perhaps AIM destroyed or corrupted in order to get to that point where we need to get?
well, it created AIM created an element of confusion, and I guess it's more of like an excuse mentality. And it said, it suggested to people that if you were having difficulty adapting to school, or obeying the laws, or getting a job, or holding a job, or paying your rent, then that wasn't your fault. That was the white man's fault, and because of that mentality, then we weren't required to do anything in our own behalf and for our own welfare and betterment. Let me grab this.
They worn out from my push-ups. A revival that maybe goes back to the original Sioux society, which was matriarchal.
Oh, right,
Right?
yeah.
It was founded in tribal unity, right? And there were certain taboos
Right.
that you just didn't do.
Right.
And I guess I would make the point that all those concepts, all those tenets, were sort of corrupted and poisoned
Okay.
by the influence of AIM. I mean, do you agree? Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I see it. I think the important thing when we start to think about, I don't know about all Native American communities, but I know among the Lakota, there was the concept that was introduced by the American Indian movement was the whole concept of quote-unquote traditionalism, and traditional ways and old Lakota behaviors, when in fact, although it was a concept and the concept in and of itself had validity, that really was not anything near what they had to do and what they introduced. In fact, the American Indian movement had more to do with facilitating our assimilation than any organization in the Native community or in the Lakota community. And so I think as we start to look at ourselves as Native people and as Lakotas, then we think about traditionals, then we really do have to get deeper into the whole meaning of that than what the American Indian movement is willing to do. It's not just about going to sweat lodges or carrying a pipe or having eagle feathers. It's about understanding the full extent of the language. It's about understanding the full extent of our societies prior to the European arrival. It's the full extent of understanding how those societies operated and how we functioned as a community, and return to that. And so that's the thing that I think is important, that we continue to do, to continue to revive our traditions, and continue to find ways to meld those traditions with our contemporary existence, because it is possible. It is not two worlds, stuck in two worlds. You live in the white man's world, or you live in the Indian's world. You live in the world, and you have a foundation of your Lakota beliefs, and you acquire a foundation of the white man's beliefs, and so you meld the two, and you learn how to survive and exist. And so you might have behaviors and ideas that are governed by your Lakota knowledge, but at the same time you adapt those to survive in the white man's world.
And you mentioned the pipe and some of the sacred elements in the Sioux tradition. Those are important elements, are
Oh,
they
yeah,
not?
yeah.
And I know there's this
Well-
ongoing dispute about who holds the pipe and who's falsifying the record, and I think AIM is a part of that. And by the way, I heard from some woman who calls herself Looking Back Woman.
Right,
And
yeah.
she said something about you threatening her. What is that all about?
Suzanne Dupree, I never threatened her. I don't have any, what idea what I have not heard that, and so I have no knowledge of it.
What? Well, she sent me an email. So what is she?
What's
her story?
Her problem is that she's first off out of territory, and she claims to have the original, quote unquote, the original Lakota calf pipe in her possession, and she lives out in Seattle or Vancouver or somewhere like that. And
So she's not on the reservation.
she's not on the reservation. She's not connected to people on the reservation, and the problem that I had, I think that she may have a valid argument. I haven't gone into all the particulars of it. I don't necessarily endorse what she's doing. When she came to me and presented what she had, I asked her to follow the traditional ways and come back to Lakota or Dakota or Nakota, come back to country, our territory, and present her case to the councils and have it represented. She was scared to do that because
Why?
she felt that somebody in the American Indian movement would probably take the pipe from her or harm her if she tried to do that. And I assured her that would not happen if she came with a good intent and she was legitimate. So I don't know.
Do you think her fear is genuine?
I believe her fear is genuine, and I believe it is valid. And I tried to basically extend a hand to her to say, well, I can help you or I will help you. She refused that, but in the process she had like a reactionary thing as though I was telling her what to do or something like that. But I could really care less what she does or doesn't do. It's her problem, and I hope she resolves it.
Well, how do you think she has the real thing?
Well, given everything that she's demonstrated, I really doubt it. She's stuck in Vancouver. We'll let her be stuck in Vancouver, and
But you're willing to help her, right?
Not anymore. Not if she said I threatened her. Not if she's saying these other things that I had no knowledge of. So yeah, that's valuable to me. I tried to help her, but evidently she didn't see it that way.
Well, but what about other attempts to sort of rekindle the genuine Lakota spirit?
Oh yeah,
In the form of sacred elements,
Oh,
sacred
yeah.
objects.
Yeah,
that kind of thing?
it's alive and well. I can tell you that the spirit and the medicine
Sorry.
our sacred Lakota ways are alive and well. You can have no doubt about that. I don't know that it's anywhere in any shape or form or tangible in any way that anybody could.
Well, the only thing that kind of intrigued me with her is that, from what I gather, she's a big proponent of the matriarchal underpinnings of the Sioux society.
And what I explained to her was that the matriarchal operates from the matriarch.
Right.
And her being one woman does not a matriarch make.
Right.
Right? The matriarch are the unchilas that we have on the reservation.
The what?
The unchilas, the grandmothers.
Uh-huh.
Right? And so the grandmothers, and there are many of them, they determine how things are done and how things are going to go and who's going to what. And so
that's how things
I
should be.
encouraged her, if she had a valid issue, to come back and present herself and her case to the grandmothers.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't want to do that. So she has chosen to position herself outside of the reaches of the matriarch that is the structure of our society. So
that is the proper way,
she's stuck.
in your opinion, to...
she's stuck out there. And regardless of what she
Why is she
theorizes,
stuck?
well, she doesn't want to come back and present herself to the matriarch. So it's like you can't lead a people if you can't go to the people that you claim to be leading and get their acceptance and approval and authority of who you are. Right? That's the only reason I am able to do what I do.
Well, maybe there's some
because those
confusion
people
here,
support me and endorse
we
me.
exchanged a few emails, and in one of them she said that you said that you would take care of her. Now, I guess she meant interpreted that.
I tried to, I told her that I would try to help her, because I am.
But she interpreted that apparently as a threat.
Well, and it must have been, there must be a reason for that. Right?
Well,
on her part,
maybe because
like
you're
I
your
said,
former aim.
Well, I don't know. That may very well be. I can't resolve the paranoia in her mind, and she's dealing with something that's obviously way bigger than she should be dealing with. And all I can say is I hope she finds her way. Because until she's willing to return to Dakota with what she claims to have, and to present herself humbly to the spirits and the medicine, then she can be stuck in Vancouver.
So when you said,
that's where
just to
she
be
is.
clear, you're willing to help anybody who wants to sort of move this process forward, as far as returning sacred objects or instilling the virtues and the values and the sacraments, the holy.
Yeah, talking about the Lakota way of life. We have a vast array of let me grab this again. Okay.
Is that white buffalo calf pipe a big deal in the Sioux culture?
Well, let me continue with what I had, because it's really important to understand that among the Lakota, we are a closed society. Okay, if you are not Lakota, then there's a whole world of events and things that happen that you will never comprehend or be aware of. Okay.
Is this woman Lakota?
Yeah, we are a closed society in that regard, and given that, there are ways to do things, and I have been compelled to follow those ways and to do those things out of the basic necessity of the events that happen. And so I never planned or intended any of what I've ended up doing. I've been compelled to, and so I follow it because it's the medicine.
Give me an example.
I'll have a woman come to me, like when I went to do the Wounded Knee interviews, okay? I had to go through 3 tiers of grandmothers, okay? And some of them were just flat out mean. And they came to me and they're like, who the fuck do you think you are? Blah, blah, blah. And they basically challenged me, right, as to who I was and what was I doing and why was I doing it.
They didn't know who you were?
No, they didn't. At the time, they didn't have a sense of who I was. And so...
But what about the Two Elk lineage? Surely they knew about that.
Well, they may have, but, for me particularly to go and do those interviews, it was a problem for a lot of people because I was going in there talking to people in the Wounded Knee community who were offering contrary viewpoints to what was popular about the Wounded Knee takeover. Okay, and so I had people come in to challenge me about whether I was the person to be doing that or not. And I cleared all those tiers, and I understood how to do things so that when I was invited by people in the community to come and do these recordings, and then I was confronted by somebody who had no knowledge of that invitation, I simply pointed out, well, I've been invited, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm doing it. And so I had to clear multiple layers of tiers of challenges and people who because where they were positioned in the community hierarchy, they were the ones who basically had to check me and prove me and make sure I was good or not good. Okay, and so I can only do what I do because I have gone through multiple layers of these tiers, and I have answered to, been confronted by several different unchis who want to know, what am I doing? What's the point of it? And I explain to them, I offer tobacco, and I present myself in a respectable manner, and I clear the tier, right? And so then I am allowed deeper in, and I learn more, and people are willing to share more with me because they understand that I have been authenticated and I have been validated by the medicine. Not by some authority, some person, some group of people, some organization. I have been authenticated by the medicine, and it's that Suzanne Dupree needs to do. She needs to understand that there are ways that we do things and there are ways that we don't do things. And right now, she's standing on the outside. She claims she's a Lakota, but she's standing outside Lakota, looking in, saying, "I'm your leader." What is the contradiction in that?
Well, I don't know if she said she's a leader.
That's what she's claiming. She's claiming that she holds the pipe,
Yeah.
and then therefore she is the matriarchal leader. And I tried to explain to her that the matriarch is all of these unchilas. And one person is not a matriarch.
Right.
Right? So,
Well, just to be clear, when you said you would take care of her, she interpreted that as a threat. But you, how
Well,
did you
and again-
mean that?
and
How
again-
you didn't mean that in a
Oh,
bad
I
way, or
had-
did you mean it in a good way?
yeah, I had no intention, but that's the way the medicine works, right? I could trust someone